3 years ago, and before we went on a tour of Meru, we had also this encounter with the media, because we are very important stakeholders. And last night our brother Rigathi was on Uhuru TV, and I think very well received in Meru. So we want to issue this statement, and my colleagues will add their comments. Because wherever we are in Kenya, and we are talking to the country from every corner. Whether we are doing it from Maua or from Meru or from Sekuru or indeed from Sugoi. All right? So the title today, and this press statement is entitled Kenya at Risk. Sovereignty undermined, our youth exploited, our citizens abandoned, and the integrity of our passport compromised. It's dated the 7th March here in Meru. The United Alternative Government, speaking in defense of the Constitution of Kenya and the sovereign will of its people, issues this urgent statement regarding grave matters that threaten Kenya's security, international standing, and democratic future. Kenya's passport, Kenya's youth, and Kenya's neutrality in regional and global affairs are not commodities to be bartered or squandered. They are sovereign assets held in trust for the people of this republic. Through credible diplomatic channels and corroborated reports, deeply troubling information has emerged concerning the irregular issuance of travel documents, the recruitment of Kenyan youth into foreign combat roles, the abandonment of Kenyan citizens stranded abroad, and the facilitation of sanctioned actors within our borders. Taken together, these failures have transformed Kenya into a pariah state, one that contributes to instability in East Africa and undermines its own citizens at home and abroad. Indeed, as we speak, I think William Ruto is handing over the chairmanship of East African Community Summit. And as he does so, he has performed poorly. During his tenure as a chair of the summit, we have seen that even countries of the region did not have enough confidence even to pay up their contributions. One of our members today in our entourage is Honorable Kanini Kega, a member of Yala. He can, I think, put a few suggestions or really comments in that area. But it's a shame, and it is good that William Ruto is handing over the chairmanship today. Number one, the sale of Kenyan passports, a sovereign crime. The Kenyan passport is a sacred instrument of national identity. It is not a commodity, and it is not for sale. Like the majority of Kenyans, the United Alternative Government is outraged by the credible evidence that the Ruto-led regime has engaged in irregular issuance and de facto auctioning of Kenyan passports and identity documents to foreign nationals, among them alleged drug lords, human trafficking overlords, lords, and rebel groups facing international sanctions. Of particular gravity is a confirmed issuance of Kenyan passports to individuals connected to Sudan's Rapid Support Forces, RSF, a militia whose Commander General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, commonly known as Hemeti, stands sanctioned by both the United Nations and the United States of America for genocide and crimes against humanity in Darfur. That individuals linked to a sanctioned warlord responsible for genocide now hold Kenyan travel documents is not merely a colossal act of betrayal, it is a deliberate criminal enterprise masquerading as governance. The consequences for ordinary Kenyans are both immediate and lasting. Heightened scrutiny at international borders, severe complications in obtaining visas for education and employment, lasting reputational damage to the Kenyan passport, and the erosion of bilateral trust with Western and regional partners. This is not a partisan matter. It is a matter of national security And now we are having some showers of blessings. Shall I continue? Beyond passport integrity, the illegal issuance of identity documents to foreign nationals forms part of a calculated plan to rig Kenya's 2027 general elections and to deploy foreign militias as instruments for suppressing Kenyan voters. This scheme includes the unlawful registration of foreign nationals from Somalia, Ethiopia, Uganda, and Tanzania on Kenya's electoral roll, as well as the organized distribution of Burundian youth across the country as agents of political violence. Our youth made dogs of war, human trafficking in plain sight. No Kenyan is safe, and no Kenyan youth shall be trafficked into foreign wars. The Ruto regime's punishing economic mismanagement and relentless taxation have driven an entire generation into desperation. Stripped of jobs and hope, Kenya's youth have become easy prey for criminal recruitment networks operating brazenly within our borders. These networks lure young Kenyans with false promises of well-paying civilian employment abroad, only to place them in military uniforms and force them to fight for Russia's military on the killing fields of Ukraine. Our young men and women, deceived into conflict before they understood what was happening, have been turned into disposable instruments of a foreign power in a war they neither chose nor consented to. And no numbers are already dead. And we saw last night the pain with this family in Limuru. I think their loved one, James Kamau. This is not speculation. More than 30 Kenyan youth have returned against all odds, bearing chilling first-hand testimonies of the brutality they witnessed and endured. These are sons and daughters of Kenya who have been deceived, exploited, and abandoned. This regime's response has been to deflect, deny, and scapegoat junior officials. We ask Mr. Ruto, how many more Kenyans must die on foreign soil before your regime accepts responsibility? Number 3, Kenyans stranded abroad, the duty to bring our people home. No Kenyan citizen stranded abroad should be compelled to purchase their own ticket home. Repatriation is a state obligation, not a personal burden. A large contingent of Kenyan citizens are stranded in Middle Eastern countries, trapped in deplorable and life-threatening conditions. Conditions made all the more perilous by the ongoing escalation of hostilities between Israel and the United States on the one side and Iran on the other. We are deeply disturbed by reports that the government of Kenya has in several instances demanded that stranded citizens purchase their own return tickets as a condition for repatriation assistance. This is unconscionable and a fundamental dereliction of the state's duty of care to its citizens abroad. The government of Kenya, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the State Department for Diaspora Affairs, and Kenya's diplomatic missions, has both the constitutional duty and the financial means to organize and fund the repatriation of distressed Kenyan nationals. The cost of a return flight is a fraction of the billions squandered through corruption and misplaced expenditure. There is no justification whatsoever for leaving Kenya citizens to perish or suffer in foreign lands because they cannot afford airfare home. We call on this regime to immediately facilitate the safe, dignified, and fully government-funded return of all Kenyan citizens currently stranded in the Middle East and other parts of the world. Not a single Kenyan should be asked to pay for their own rescue. Number 4, Kenya transformed into a criminal regional hub. It is now common knowledge that Ruto has allowed Kenya to become a safe haven and operational base for regional and international criminal networks, providing protection, facilitation of travel, and material support to individuals facing serious international criminal allegations, including genocide, crimes against humanity, and enforced disappearances. Drug cartels are alleged to be represented at the highest levels of this government. Simultaneously, this regime has targeted legitimate passport holders, human rights activists, political actors, and legal visitors through illegal renditions and forced removals from Kenyan soil. We have in particular our Zimbabwean colleague who was actually asked to go back to Zimbabwe, and this person working in that space of human rights. And so the abduction and reduction of Kisa Bisinje stands a particularly alarming example of how far this regime will go in serving the interests of foreign principles over Kenya's own constitutional and legal obligations. Number 5, Kenya's role as regional mediator destroyed. For decades, Kenya played a respected and indispensable role as a neutral mediator in regional conflicts. From South Sudan to Somalia, the Great Lakes region to the Horn of Africa, and yours truly was actually instrumental in these efforts to really bring peace and amity and good order in our region. The role that we played in helping Somalia, in bringing around the fact of the reality of the world's newest state, Southern Sudan, by signing of the comprehensive peace agreement in Nairobi, when President Kibaki was able to actually preside over that, and even Burundi. I think our record in this area is very well documented. Any association between the government of Kenya and parties implicated in genocide exposes these countries to sanctions regimes, diplomatic isolation, and the reputational damage that will take generations to repair. Ruto's reckless associations have already undermined Kenya's credibility as a peace and security facilitator, including his vital role in hosting regional infrastructure for humanitarian support. I want to move very quickly now. I think we're almost through. A captured state, the machinery of betrayal. The violations described in this statement are not the work of rogue officials acting alone. To issue illegal passports, support criminal networks, and facilitate human trafficking at scale requires institutional capture at the highest levels of government. This conspiracy is only possible through the active facilitation of the Office of the President, the Department of the Interior, the National Intelligence Service, and the Immigration Department. This is a top-down criminal enterprise in which state officials work alongside illegal structures to circumvent the Constitution. Threat to Kenya's financial system and the future of United Nations offices in Nairobi. The cumulative impact of these violations places Kenya squarely in the crosshairs of a financial action task force, abbreviated as FATF. If Kenya comes to be perceived as a permissive jurisdiction for money laundering and illicit finance, the consequences will be devastating. The erosion of correspondent banking relationships, the collapse of foreign investment flows, and the effective crippling of Kenya's financial system. Of existential gravity is the threat to the United Nations office at Nairobi, one of only 4 UN headquarters globally and the only one on African soil. Kenya's status as host is contingent upon international credibility and the enduring trust of the world community. Should Kenya lose United Nations offices in Nairobi, it would represent an irreversible national humiliation. And again, I was directly involved in enhancing the status of what used to be UNEP to now United Nations offices in Nairobi, a task that we accomplished under the leadership of our late brother Kofi Annan, the UN Secretary General, who came to Nairobi deliberately to elevate the status of Nairobi to UN headquarters. People's demands. In the interest of transparency and constitutional order and Kenya's international credibility, the United Alternative Government calls for the following immediate actions. Number 1, an immediate independent parliamentary inquiry into all irregular passport and identity document issuance with full public reporting and the revocation of all unlawfully issued documents. Number 2, criminal investigations into all networks, recruiting Kenyan citizens into foreign combat roles with full accountability extending to senior government officials. Number 3, a full public account of all Kenyan nationals recruited into foreign conflicts, including verified figures on those deployed, those deceased, those missing, or indeed those who have returned. Number 4, the immediate, fully government-funded repatriation of all Kenyan citizens stranded in the Middle East and elsewhere. No Kenyan should be required, again as we say, to purchase their own ticket home. Rescue is a state duty, not a personal cost. Number 5, a formal diplomatic clarification affirming Kenya's neutrality and non-alignment with any foreign military campaign inconsistent with international law. We have always held the principle of active non-alignment. Number 6, a comprehensive compliance review of Kenya's anti-money laundering, counter-terrorism financing, and immigration control frameworks. Number 7, which is the last one, full adherence to constitutional protections regarding due process and the principle of non-refoulement, including appropriate restitution in all cases of unlawful rendition. Since silence in the face of these violations is not an option, we issue this statement not to inflame, but to protect the Republic and uphold the dignity of every Kenyan citizen at home and abroad. The United Alternative Government stands ready to restore dignity, to restore integrity to our institutions, defend Kenya's international reputation, and ensure that the state power is exercised only in accordance with the Constitution and the rule of law. Kenya must remain a respected member of the international community, not a subject of suspicion, revulsion, or indeed international sanction. Finally, as we address these grave matters of state, the United Alternative Government wishes to speak directly to all Kenyans. Please take every precaution to keep yourselves and your families safe during the ongoing heavy rainfall currently affecting most parts of our country. Nairobi, as we saw last night, was completely flooded. Avoid flooded roads and low-lying areas. Heed all advisories for Kenya Meteorological Department and look out for one another. Your lives matter above all else. Issued in Meru town today, 7th March 2026, by us here representing the rest of our colleagues. We thank you. It was a long statement, but a very important statement. My brothers can add.
I don't think you need to add anything.